11:47 on a Thursday night, rain hammering against Portland windows like it has a grudge against glass. A single father scrolls through a dating app he barely believes in anymore, eyes burning from another late shift managing inventory at a warehouse that pays just enough to keep the lights on, but not enough to stop the electricity company from sending reminder emails. His thumb moves across the screen, half asleep, careless. The way people make decisions when exhaustion has lowered every defense they spent years building. The notification sounds like a gunshot in the dark silence of his one-bedroom apartment. The profile name makes his stomach drop through the floor. Isla Whitmore, his ex-wife's younger sister. The woman who sat silent at his custody hearings 3 years ago. Who watched him get labeled the villain in a divorce that nearly broke him. Who knew secrets that could rewrite everything he thought was true about his failed marriage. And she just sent him a message. This is not a story about accidents. This is about what happens when one careless swipe tears open 3 years of carefully constructed distance. About an 8-year-old girl who becomes the moral compass when adults lose their way. About choosing courage over comfort even when your ex-wife's entire family wants you erased from their history. What comes next will challenge everything you think you know about Second Chance. Drop a comment with where you are watching from. Hit that like button and buckle up. This story goes places you won't expect. The phone stays face down on his desk until morning. Garrett Brennan does not sleep. He sits in the cheap office chair that came with the apartment watching Portland rain turn the street below into a river of headlights and brake lights. Watching the city breathe while his own breathing feels like something he has to remember to do manually. 3 years since the divorce finalized. 4 years since his life imploded. Back when he was still a systems consultant with an MIT degree, and a future that looked solid on paper, back before Brielle decided she wanted out, and the custody battle turned him into the villain in a story he didn't recognize. The Whitmore family chose sides. Her side, of course they did. And now one of them is in his phone. By 5:30, the sky shifts from black to bruised purple. He hears Harper stirring in the bedroom they share because his one-bedroom apartment in Southeast Portland is all he can afford on a warehouse foreman's salary that stopped it being enough about 6 months ago. She appears in his doorway wearing mismatched pajamas. Her hair defies physics in 7 different directions. She is 8 years old and reads his moods with the accuracy of someone 3 times her age. "Dad," she says, climbing into his lap without invitation. "You look like someone stole your ice cream, but also gave you new ice cream. But the new ice cream is mint, and you hate mint." Garrett tries to laugh. The sound catches in his throat and comes out wrong. Mint is very divisive, he manages. Harper pats his cheek with a hand that smells faintly of the lavender soap they buy in bulk from the dollar store. "It's okay to not like mint. You can just say so. You don't have to pretend." The wisdom of 8-year-olds continues to devastate him on a daily basis. He makes her breakfast. Scrambled eggs that come out slightly too dry because he still hasn't mastered the art of low heat and patience. Toast with peanut butter cut into triangles because she will not eat rectangles today. Yesterday it was rectangles only. Tomorrow it will probably be circles. He stopped trying to understand the geometry of her food preferences. She sits at their small kitchen table, swinging her legs from the booster seat she insists she doesn't need, but cannot reach the table without. The apartment around them tells a story Garrett tries not to think about too hard. Dishes in the sink from 2 days ago. His old photography equipment taking up half the living room that should be a living room but functions as storage for a life he used to have. Invoices spread across the kitchen counter, stamped past due in red ink that matches the color of his checking account balance when he's brave enough to look at it. The Honda needs new brakes. The landlord sent an email last week about rent being late again. His biggest client from his consulting days canceled yesterday, citing budget cuts, which is corporate speak for "we found someone cheaper." He has $17 in his wallet and a daughter who needs new shoes because her toes are pressing against the front of her current ones in a way that makes him feel like he's failing at the most basic requirements of fatherhood. Harper chatters about school drama. A boy named Jackson who eats paste like it's a delicacy. A girl named Sophie with a backpack shaped like a unicorn, which is apparently a big deal in the complex social hierarchy of 8-year-olds. Garrett makes listening sounds while his mind loops back to the phone on his desk. Isla Whitmore. He hasn't seen her in person since the divorce finalized 3 years ago. Before that, she existed on the periphery of his marriage to Brielle, the younger sister who went to art school in Seattle, the one who came home for holidays with paint under her fingernails and opinions about photography that Garrett secretly agreed with but never voiced, because Brielle called her pretentious and he had learned early that agreeing with anyone in Brielle's family except Brielle herself was a tactical error. During the custody battle, Isla sat in the back of the courtroom. Never spoke. Never looked at him. Just existed as part of the Whitmore family wall of silence and judgment. And now she's in his phone. Has been since 11:47 last night, waiting for a response he doesn't know how to give. The custody exchange happens at 9. Brielle arrives in her white Audi wearing athleisure that costs more than his monthly grocery budget. Her expression communicates disappointment without requiring words. She has perfected this look over the years. It's a skill set Garrett never knew existed until he married into the Whitmore family. She inspects Harper like a general reviewing troops. The hair tie is crooked. Did he let her dress herself again? That sweater doesn't match those pants. Harper needs structure. Garrett, not a friend, he nods, agrees, takes the criticism because fighting means lawyers, and lawyers mean money he doesn't have. And also because some part of him still believes Brielle might be right. Maybe he is failing, maybe he isn't enough. Maybe the story she tells about their marriage is the true one, and his memory is just elaborate self-deception. Brielle's apartment in the Pearl District rises behind her like evidence of everything he couldn't provide. Floor-to-ceiling windows, doorman, parking garage. She made senior marketing director 8 months ago. Her LinkedIn profile describes her as a dynamic leader driving innovative solutions in the digital space. His LinkedIn profile hasn't been updated since 2019 and still lists him as an inventory systems consultant, which is technically true but misleadingly grand for someone who now spends his days managing warehouse stock and occasionally fixing computer glitches that the actual IT department can't be bothered with. Harper hugs him goodbye, whispers in his ear, "I love you more than unicorn backpacks." He holds her tight, whispers back, "That's a lot of love." After they leave, he sits in his car for 10 minutes doing breathing exercises a therapist taught him 2 years ago when panic attacks were happening weekly. The exercises help mostly. They give him something to focus on besides the tightness in his chest and the voice in his head that sounds suspiciously like Brielle telling him he's not enough, never was enough, never will be enough. He drives back to his apartment. The phone is still there on his desk where he left it, still face down, still containing a message from a woman who should not be messaging him. He picks it up, opens the app. Isla's profile loads with the slow inevitability of a car crash you can see coming but cannot avoid. Gone. 3 photos. In the first, she stands on a hiking trail somewhere aggressively Pacific Northwest. Trees, mountains. That specific quality of light that happens in Oregon when clouds break for exactly 7 minutes and the whole world looks like a postcard. Her hair is longer than he remembers, blonde with natural wave. She's smiling, but her eyes are careful, guarded, like someone who has learned that cameras lie more often than they tell the truth. The second photo shows her at a brewery laughing with friends who have been cropped out of frame. He can see the edges of other people, arms, shoulders, the negative space of company. She's wearing a green sweater and holding a pint glass and looks genuinely happy in a way that makes him wonder what happened in the seconds before the photo was taken. What joke was told? What moment was shared? The third is a selfie in what looks like a studio. Paint-smudged overalls, hair pulled back. She's looking directly at the camera with an expression that feels like a challenge, like she's daring you to see past the obvious. Her bio reads, painter, coffee snob, enjoys the idea of hiking more than actual hiking, seeking someone who knows the difference between alone and lonely. Garrett reads it 3 times. Then he does what any reasonable person would do when confronted with a situation that violates every boundary of social acceptability. He panics. He types a message, deletes it. Types another, deletes that too. Tries a third variation that sounds simultaneously too casual and too formal. Deletes everything and stares at the blank text field like it might offer guidance. Finally, he settles on honesty, because lying seems pointless when you've accidentally swiped right on your ex-wife's sister. I was exhausted. Thumb slipped. Didn't mean to be weird. Sorry. He hits send before he can reconsider, then immediately regrets it. Then considers deleting the app entirely. Then realizes you can't unsend messages, and also what would deleting accomplish except making him look even more unstable. 3 dots appear. His heart does something arrhythmic. The dots disappear, reappear, disappear again. He's about to throw his phone across the room when her response arrives. An accident. Ouch. Guess my hiking photos failed to convey my deep spiritual connection to nature. Something in his chest unclenches. He reads the message twice. There is humor in it, warmth. An opening instead of a door slammed shut. He types back quickly before he can overthink. "Do you actually like hiking or just the aesthetic?" Her response comes faster this time. "I like the photos of me pretending to like hiking. The outdoors are very photogenic. From inside." He laughs, actually laughs. It's the first time in weeks the sound has felt real instead of performed. They fall into conversation with an ease that surprises him. She asks about his photography. He admits business is slow, which is a dramatic understatement, but also as much honesty as he can manage with someone who is technically still family in the complicated way that ex-family remains family. She doesn't push. Instead, she says the market is brutal. Everyone with an iPhone thinks they're Ansel Adams. But you shoot film, right? I remember Brielle complaining about the bond. This stops him cold. She remembers. They exchanged maybe 10 words total during his entire marriage to Brielle. Polite nothings at family dinners, where he felt like an anthropologist observing a species he would never fully understand. He didn't think she noticed anything about him beyond his status as the guy who married her sister. "Yeah," he types, "film is expensive. But digital feels too easy, too perfect. I like the grain, the mistakes." Isla responds, "Mistakes are where the truth lives." They text throughout the day. Nothing heavy, nothing that acknowledges the fundamental strangeness of this interaction. She sends him a meme about Portland rain. He sends back a photo of his coffee mug with the caption, "Day 47 of gray skies. Sanity holding at 60%. She responds with only 60 ambitious. The next day, she sends him an article about a photographer using expired film stock to shoot portraits of strangers. He reads it during his lunch break at the warehouse sitting in his car because the break room fluorescent lights give him headaches and also because he needs the privacy to smile at his phone without his coworkers asking questions. It feels like someone is paying attention, not to what they think he should care about, but to what he actually cares about. This feeling is rare enough to be notable. They argue about pineapple on pizza with the intensity of people debating foreign policy. She is firmly against. He defends it on principle, even though he doesn't particularly like it either. Neither convinces the other, but both enjoy the fight. It feels like play, like the early days with Brielle before everything became a referendum on his adequacy. A week passes. Then two. The messages become routine. Good morning texts. Photos of interesting light. Harper starts asking why he's smiling at his phone. He tells her he's talking to a friend. She asks if the friend knows about dragons. He says probably. What surprises Garrett most is how easy this is. Talking to Isla requires no performance, no careful editing of himself into shapes that might be more acceptable. When he mentions Harper, she asks real questions, not the perfunctory kind people ask when they're waiting for their turn to talk. She wants to know what Harper is like, what makes her laugh, whether she inherited his eye for composition. He sends her a photo Harper took with his old point-and-shoot camera, a blurry close-up of a dandelion. Isla responds, she's seeing the world at her scale. That's good photography. 3 weeks and Garrett gets brave. Or stupid. The line between the two has always been thin. He suggests a phone call, immediately regrets it, starts to type a follow-up that walks it back. Isla responds before he can. Tonight after 10, his apartment feels too small when the call connects at 10:03. He stands on his balcony, watches rain turn southeast Portland into a watercolor. Her voice comes through clear and intimate, like she's standing next to him instead of across town in her apartment near Powell's Books that he has never seen but imagines based on her profile. Organized, good light, plants that are actually alive. They talk for an hour, then two. The conversation flows like they've been doing this for years instead of weeks. Isla tells him about teaching an art to middle schoolers, about the kid who only draws tanks with increasing levels of detail, about the girl who paints exclusively in shades of purple and gets offended if you call it lavender or violet. It has to be purple. Specificity matters. Garrett talks about the warehouse, about the inventory system that keeps glitching because the company won't invest in proper IT infrastructure, about how he sometimes fixes problems the actual tech department can't solve, but never mentions it because drawing attention feels dangerous when you're barely keeping your head above water. He doesn't elaborate on MIT, doesn't talk about the systems engineering degree that used to mean something. That history feels like something that needs the right moment, the right trust. Isla asks about the divorce, not the details, just how he's doing now. 3 years out, he finds himself telling the truth instead of the version he usually offers, that he still doesn't understand what happened, that Brielle made it clear he was the problem, but he can't identify what he did wrong beyond existing incorrectly. that he spent 3 years wondering if he imagined the good parts of his marriage or if she did. Isla is quiet for a long moment. He can hear her breathing. Rain on her end, too. Finally, she says, "There's something I should have said years ago." His hand tightens on the phone. The city noise fades into background static. He waits. Isla's voice shifts, gets smaller, almost frightened, but she doesn't finish the thought. The silence stretches. "Then I'm glad your thumb slipped, even if it was an accident." Garrett's throat is dry. He swallows, says the thing he's been thinking for days. "Maybe it wasn't an accident. Maybe I was just waiting for permission to choose something I wanted." The call ends sometime after midnight. He lies in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to rain and wondering what she was going to say. What secret she almost told him. What truth has been waiting 3 years to surface. His phone buzzes. One last message from Isla. "Coffee tomorrow. There's a place in Alberta Arts with good light." He types yes before he can list all the reasons this is a terrible idea. Before he can catalog the ways this could go wrong. Before fear has time to masquerade as wisdom. The cafe in Alberta Arts sits on a corner where the neighborhood still pretends to be gritty but can't hide the creep of gentrification. Exposed brick, Edison bulbs, a chalkboard menu listing coffee drinks with names like Rainy Day Redemption and Existential Americano. Garrett arrives 15 minutes early because punctuality is the last refuge of the anxious. He parks down the street and sits in his Honda watching people pass. Dog walkers, runners in expensive gear, a woman pushing a stroller while talking on her phone about real estate prices. His heart is doing something irregular. He checked his reflection in the rearview mirror 3 times and still can't decide if he looks presentable or like someone who hasn't slept properly in weeks. Both things are true. He's wearing his least wrinkled button-down and jeans without holes. This feels significant, like he's trying, like this matters. At exactly 2 o'clock, he walks inside. The cafe smells like coffee and rain-soaked wool. Isla is already there, sitting at a corner table beneath a black and white photograph of Mount Hood. She's wearing a white blouse that looks casual and intentional simultaneously. Her hair is pulled back in a way that makes her look older than he remembers, more serious. She sees him. Waves. The gesture is small, uncertain. He walks over feeling like he's approaching the edge of something he can't see the bottom of. They order coffee from a barista with a nose ring and visible anxiety who takes their order with the enthusiasm of someone fulfilling court-mandated community service. Garrett gets a pour-over he doesn't need. Isla orders a cappuccino and specifies the temperature like someone who has been burned before by casual baristas who don't take coffee seriously. They sit across from each other at a table small enough that their knees almost touch. The proximity feels deliberate, dangerous. The first few minutes are stilted. They make observations about the weather, comment on the cafe's overpriced pastries, discuss the photograph of Mount Hood with the depth of people avoiding what they actually need to say. Isla's fingers tap against her cup. Garrett's leg bounces under the table. The silence between words gets heavier. Then Isla sets down her cup with a deliberateness that signals a shift in tone. The lightness drains from her face. She looks at him with something that might be fear or courage or both. "I need to tell you something," she says. "About Brielle. About what really happened." Garrett's body goes still in the way prey animals freeze when they sense predators. His coffee is too hot. The chair is too hard. The cafe is too bright. Everything sharpens into uncomfortable focus. For 3 years, he has carried a specific narrative. The marriage failed because he was not enough. Not ambitious enough, not social enough, not present enough, even when he was physically there. Brielle made this clear during the divorce. Her family reinforced it with cold shoulders and careful distances at custody exchanges. Her mother stopped making eye contact. Her father started sentences with phrases like, "If you had just tried harder." Even their mutual friends chose sides. Most chose hers because she told a better story. She was the one who stayed when things got hard. He was the one who gave up. He learned to accept this version because fighting it meant fighting everyone, and he had already lost too much. So he became the villain in his own marriage, the struggling consultant who couldn't provide, the absent father even when he was home, the man who stopped trying because trying meant failing, and failing meant confirming what everyone already believed. Isla looks at him now with eyes that are too bright. Her composure is cracking around the edges like ice under weight. "Brielle wasn't alone," she says. "In those last 2 years of your marriage, she was seeing someone. We all knew. My parents knew. I knew. We made you the villain because it was easier than admitting she was human and flawed and scared of being the one who failed. The words land like stones in water. They sink slowly. Garrett hears them but can't immediately process their meaning. The cafe sounds fade into white noise. Somewhere an espresso machine hisses. A chair scrapes tile. His own breathing is too loud in his ears. How long he manages. The words come out rough, unfinished. How long did you know Isla's face does something complicated? Pain, shame, something that looks like it's been waiting years to surface. 18 months before you filed. I saw the text on her phone at Thanksgiving. She left it on the counter while helping Mom with dinner. I picked it up to bring it to her, and the screen lit up with a message from someone named Tucker. Tucker Vaughn. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't something you could misinterpret. The cafe tilts slightly. Garrett grips the edge of the table. His coffee is getting cold. He doesn't drink it. Can't drink it. Can't do anything except sit here while his understanding of the last 5 years gets rewritten in real time. I didn't say anything. Isla continues. Her voice is getting quieter, tighter. None of us did. We let you twist in the wind because family comes first and you weren't family. Not really. Not in the way that mattered to people like my parents. So we protected her. We let her tell the story that made her the victim. And you became the man who couldn't keep his wife happy. She's crying now, not dramatically, just tears tracking down her face while she talks. Garrett watches her cry and feels nothing except a strange sense of vertigo, like the floor beneath him has been replaced with something less solid. The marriage ended 3 years ago, but the story of the marriage is apparently still being written, still being edited, still full of revisions he wasn't consulted on. I'm sorry, Isla says. The words sound genuine in a way apologies rarely do. I've carried this for so long. Every time Harper came up in conversation, every time my mother talked about how hard it must be for poor Brielle to co-parent with someone so unreliable, I wanted to scream. But I stayed quiet because that's what we do in my family. We stay quiet and we keep the peace, and we make sure the story we tell the world is the one that makes us look good. Garrett still can't speak. His throat is closed. His hands are shaking. He puts them in his lap where she can't see. Part of him wants to stand up and walk out. Part of him wants to rage, flip the table, demand explanations that will never satisfy. But there's another part, smaller, newer. That feels something like relief. He spent 3 years questioning his own memory, wondering if he imagined the distance in his marriage. The way Brielle stopped looking at him months before she asked for the divorce, the way she flinched when he touched her, the way she started working late with increasing frequency, the way she blamed him for her unhappiness with such conviction that he started to believe it too. Now he knows he wasn't crazy. He wasn't imagining things. He was just being systematically lied to by everyone who claimed to care about the truth. Why he finally says, "Why tell me now? Why not just let it stay buried?" Isla wipes her face with the back of her hand, reaches for a napkin, takes a breath that shudders. Because I'm done being a coward. And because you deserve to know that the story you've been telling yourself is wrong. You weren't the failure. You were just the convenient one to blame. They sit in silence that is not comfortable but not hostile either. Other people in the cafe continue their conversations. Someone laughs. A baby cries. The world keeps moving while Garrett's understanding of his own past gets dismantled and rebuilt. He thinks about Harper, about the custody agreement that gives Brielle primary placement because the mediator believes she was the more stable parent, about the way he has to justify every parenting decision to a woman who lied to him for years, about the narrative he has internalized so deeply that he apologizes for existing. "Thank you," he says finally, "for telling me, even if it's 3 years late." Isla nods, attempts a smile that doesn't quite work. So what now? Garrett considers this. The reasonable thing would be to end this here. Thank her for the information, process it alone, maintain appropriate boundaries with his ex-wife's sister, but reasonable stop mattering the moment his thumb swiped right. "I think we finish our coffee," he says, "and maybe we stop pretending this is just about correcting the historical record." Isla's expression shifts. Surprise, hope, fear. "I wasn't sure you'd want to see me again," she says quietly, fingers still wrapped around her cappuccino. "After learning I was complicit. You were," Garrett agrees, meeting her eyes. "But you're also the only person in 3 years who's told me the truth. That counts for something." They stay at the cafe for another hour. The confession has cleared the air, made space for something new. The conversation shifts away from Brielle and the past. They talk about Portland, about the neighborhoods they love, and the ones that have changed beyond recognition. Isla tells him about her painting, about the series she is working on that explores memory and how it shifts over time, how the same event can be remembered differently by different people, and both versions can be true and false simultaneously. Garrett tells her about Harper, about the way she narrates her entire life like she is the protagonist in a story only she can see, about how she asked him last week if he was sad or just thinking. And when he said thinking, she replied that sometimes thinking looks like sad and he should be more careful. Isla laughs. It is a real laugh, unguarded. She has a good laugh, the kind that makes other people want to join in. When they finally leave the cafe, the rain has stopped. The street is slick and shining under weak afternoon sun. They stand on the sidewalk in that awkward moment of departure where neither wants to be the first to leave. Can we do this again? Isla asks. Not to talk about Brielle, just to talk. Garrett nods. Yes, I would like that. They do not hug, do not touch. Just exchange a look that contains more honesty than most physical contact. Then they walk to their separate cars and drive to their separate lives. And Garrett feels lighter than he has in years. Over the next 2 weeks, they fall into a pattern. Coffee becomes lunch, becomes walks around Laurelhurst Park. They circle the lake in late afternoon when the light turns everything gold. Isla points out birds whose names she learned from an app. Garrett takes photos on his phone of the way shadows fall across water. They do not talk about Brielle unless necessary. Instead, they build something new. A friendship that feels like it might be more, but neither pushes. Isla tells him about teaching, about the bureaucracy that makes her want to quit weekly, about the student who draws only in black and refuses to use color because color is dishonest, about the staff meetings where people argue about things that do not matter, while the things that do matter go unaddressed. Garrett tells her about the warehouse, about the inventory system that keeps failing because management refuses to upgrade infrastructure, about the daily frustrations of working a job that uses maybe 10% of what he's capable of. He mentions casually that he used to do systems consulting, that he has a degree from MIT gathering dust in a box somewhere, but he doesn't elaborate, doesn't want to sound like he's trying to impress her with credentials from a life he no longer lives. Isla does not offer empty reassurance. She listens, asks questions, challenges him when he is being unfair to himself. She has a way of cutting through his self-deprecation without being cruel. When he says he is a failed consultant, pretending to be a warehouse foreman, she corrects him. You are not pretending. You are working. There is dignity in that. The failure is a system that does not value what you actually know. One evening, they sit on a bench, watching ducks negotiate territory disputes with the aggression of corporate lawyers. The sun is setting in that specific way it does in the Pacific Northwest. All orange and purple and impossibly beautiful. Isla says without looking at him, this is probably a terrible idea. Garrett knows what she means without asking. Yes, he agrees. Probably. Your sister, my ex-wife, the family that already hates me. Harper in the middle of everything. All the reasons this should not happen are good reasons. They are, Ayla says. But I am tired of making decisions based on what other people think. I have spent 32 years being the good daughter, the one who does not make waves, who keeps family secrets, who sacrifices what she wants for the sake of peace. And I am done. She turns to look at him. Her eyes are very blue in the fading light. What do you want, she asks. Garrett does not hesitate. This, you, whatever this is or could be, even if it is complicated, especially if it is complicated. They kiss for the first time with the sunset behind them and ducks watching judgmentally. It is not fireworks, it is better. It is honest. It is choosing something because you want it, not because it is easy. When they break apart, Isla is smiling. So we are doing this. We are doing this, Garrett confirms. They decide to be careful, intentional. No grand announcements. No forcing Harper into something she is not ready for. They will take it slow, see where it goes, keep it private until they are sure. The secret lasts exactly 11 days. It ends on a Saturday morning at Powell's Books. Garrett brings Harper to spend her allowance on picture books. She has been saving for weeks and has $7.34 that she carries in a Ziploc bag like it is bearer bonds. She wants books about dragons, specifically friendly dragons who solve problems without violence, because she has opinions about conflict resolution that would impress United Nations mediators. They are in the children's section. Harper is debating between two books with the intensity of someone choosing between marriage proposals. Garrett is trying to be patient, trying not to think about the fact that Isla texted him this morning saying she was going to Powell's to look at art books. He could leave. Steer Harper in another direction. Maintain the careful separation they agreed on. But Harper looks up, follows his gaze, points with the directness of children who have not learned about subtlety. Dad, who is that lady? She looks like someone who knows about dragons. Garrett's heart stops. Before he can respond, Harper is already walking over, 8 years old and fearless. She tugs on Isla's sleeve. Excuse me, do you know about dragons? Isla looks down. Her face goes through several emotions in rapid succession. Surprise, fear, recognition. Then she kneels down to Harper's height and says with complete seriousness, I know about blue dragons specifically. They only eat worries. Do you have worries? Harper considers this with the gravity of a Supreme Court justice weighing evidence. My dad has lots of worries. Can your dragons eat his worries? Isla glances up at Garrett. Their eyes meet. Something passes between them. A decision made in silence. She looks back at Harper. I think my dragons would be very happy to help with that. Harper beams. She reaches out and takes Isla's hand like they have known each other forever. Come help me pick dragon books. You are an expert. They spend the next hour in the children's section. Isla reads summaries aloud. Harper provides commentary on which dragons look friendly versus mean. Garrett watches them together and feels his chest do something that might be hope or might be terror. Probably both. They end up buying 3 books and a stuffed blue dragon that Harper names Worry Eater. The name is delivered with the finality of someone christening a ship. As they walk to the car, Harper holds both their hands, swings between them, talks about how Worry Eater is going to live on her bed and protect her from bad dreams, and also eat all of Dad's worries so he can smile more. At the car, Isla kneels down again. Harper, she says gently, I'm going to see your dad again. Is that okay with you? Like on dates, Harper asks. Yes, like on dates. Harper tilts her head like a bird examining an interesting bug. Will you still help with my dragons? Always, Isla promises. Then it is okay, Harper declares. But you have to come to my birthday party. It is in 3 weeks. There will be cake. Isla laughs. I would not miss it. After Harper is buckled in and busy making Worry Eater fight an imaginary bad guy, Isla and Garrett stand by the driver's side door. That just happened, Garrett says. That just happened. Isla agrees. She is terrifying in the best way. We should talk about what this means, about how we do this. Isla nods. Tonight, after she is asleep. That night, they sit on Garrett's balcony with Portland spread below them. The city hums its usual song. Sirens, music from bars, the constant whisper of rain threatening but not yet falling. Harper is asleep inside with Worry Eater tucked under her arm. We need rules, Isla says. Boundaries. This is not just about us anymore. Garrett agrees. They make a list. No hiding but no forcing. They will tell Harper the truth in age-appropriate ways. They will not speak badly about Brielle regardless of how they feel. They will put Harper's emotional well-being above their own desires. If this gets too complicated, if it starts hurting her, they will stop. Isla adds one more. We tell each other the truth. Always, even when it is hard. Especially when it is hard. No more family secrets. Garrett takes her hand. I am choosing this, choosing you, not by accident, on purpose. Isla kisses him. It tastes like commitment and courage in the kind of decision that cannot be unmade. Good, she says, because I am choosing you too. They sit together watching the city lights reflect in puddles that might become rain. Inside, Harper sleeps with her dragon protector. Above them, clouds gather. Tomorrow they will have to tell Brielle. Tomorrow the complications will begin. But tonight they have this moment of choosing each other before the world gets a vote. Harper names her the Dragon Lady on their second bookstore meeting and refuses all attempts at correction. Garrett tries explaining that her actual name is Isla, and maybe they should use that. Harper looks at him with the patient exasperation of someone dealing with a particularly slow student. That is what I said, Dad. The Dragon Lady. It is her name because she has the dragons that eat worries. Names are about what people do not, what their parents picked. Isla laughs so hard she has to sit down on the children's section carpet. When she recovers, she tells Harper that Dragon Lady is actually a very prestigious title, and she will wear it with honor. Harper nods with satisfaction. Good, because I do not give prestigious titles to just anyone. They build a routine slowly, carefully, like people constructing something from glass that could shatter if handled wrong. Saturday mornings at the farmer's market on Portland State University campus. Isla meets them there as if by accident, except Harper has figured out that accidents that happen every week are actually plans. She does not seem to mind. She holds Isla's hand while they browse vegetable stands and argues passionately about whether tomatoes are vegetables or fruits and why adults are wrong about most classification systems. Isla buys her a small pumpkin in early October. Harper names it Gerald and insists it has feelings and must be treated with respect. Gerald rides in the front seat on the way home with a seatbelt. Garrett catches Isla's eye in the rearview mirror. She is trying not to laugh. He is failing at the same task. Sunday afternoons become walk days. Laurelhurst Park mostly, but sometimes the waterfront or the Japanese garden when Garrett can afford the admission. Harper collects leaves and rocks and interesting sticks. She creates elaborate stories about where each item came from. This rock is from a mountain that used to be a giant. This leaf belonged to a tree that knows secrets. Isla listens with the attention most people reserve for important business meetings. She asks follow-up questions, wants to know what secrets the tree knows, whether the giant misses being tall. Harper starts bringing her collection to show and tell at school, tells her class that the dragon lady helps her understand nature. Her teacher sends a note home asking about this dragon lady person and whether she is a licensed educator. Garrett writes back explaining she is a friend of the family who teaches middle school art. The teacher seems satisfied. Harper is offended that anyone would question the dragon lady's credentials. 3 weeks after the bookstore meeting, Isla comes to their apartment for the first time. Harper insisted. They are making Halloween decorations, and the dragon lady knows about art, so obviously she needs to be there. Garrett cleans for 2 hours before she arrives, hides the really embarrassing clutter, puts dishes in cabinets where they might actually belong, discovers he owns a vacuum. Isla shows up with supplies, construction, paper, safety scissors, glue sticks that actually have glue in them, unlike the dried-out ones Garrett bought at the dollar store last year. She spreads everything on the kitchen table and teaches Harper to cut bats and ghosts and cats with arched backs. Harper's cutting is enthusiastic but not precise. The bats look drunk. The ghosts appear to be melting. Isla praises every creation with genuine enthusiasm. That ghost has real personality. Look at how your bat is flying in a different direction from all the other bats. That shows independent thinking. Garrett makes coffee and watches them work. Isla catches him staring, raises an eyebrow. What she mouths, he shakes his head. Nothing. Everything. He cannot explain that watching her with his daughter is rewriting his understanding of what family could look like. Harper glues her creations to construction paper with approximately 7 times more glue than necessary. While it dries, Isla teaches her to mix paint colors, shows her how red and yellow make orange, how blue and yellow make green. Harper is reverent. She whispers when she stirs the colors together like she is performing magic, which in a way she is, making something new from things that existed separately. Isla gets it, does not laugh or condescend, just guides Harper's hand and lets her discover. They paint until Harper's hands are more paint than skin, until the kitchen table looks like a crime scene, until Harper declares she is starving and might die if she does not eat immediately. Isla helps clean up without being asked, shows Harper how to wash brushes properly, explains that taking care of your tools is how you show respect for your art. Harper absorbs this with the seriousness of religious doctrine. Over pizza that Garrett orders because cooking feels impossible after the creative chaos, Harper announces her new life plan. I am going to be an artist like the Dragon Lady. We will have a studio together with big windows and we will paint all day, and Dad can take pictures of our paintings and we will be famous. Isla glances at Garrett. Her expression is complicated, hopeful and scared. What about being a veterinarian? Isla asks gently. I thought you wanted to help animals. Harper waves this away with a paint-stained hand. I can do both. Being just one thing is boring. Adults do not have imagination. After Harper goes to bed, they sit on the couch with the carefully maintained distance of people still figuring out boundaries. Isla looks around the apartment, at the photography equipment, the overdue bills Garrett forgot to hide. The life of a single father barely holding it together. This is real, she says quietly. Not a question, a statement. This is real, Garrett confirms. The glamorous life of a struggling foreman and his abnormally articulate daughter. Isla shifts closer. I like real. Real is better than the performance I grew up with. Everyone pretending everything was perfect while the foundations rotted. She tells him about her childhood, the Whitmore family dynamics, how her parents valued appearance over truth. How Brielle learned early to manage perception. How Isla learned to stay quiet and not make waves. How they were raised to believe that family loyalty meant protecting the story even when the story was a lie. Garrett listens, understands more about why she stayed silent during his marriage, why she is choosing differently now. This is her rebellion, choosing honesty over comfort, choosing him over family approval. They kiss on his second-hand couch with Harper's Halloween decorations drying on the kitchen table. It is soft and careful and contains the weight of everything they are risking. When they break apart, Isla says, "I am terrified." "Me too," Garrett admits, "but I would rather be terrified with you than safe and alone." The bubble lasts exactly 6 weeks. 6 weeks of farmers markets and park walks and Harper's birthday party where Isla shows up with a painting she made of a blue dragon eating worries. Harper hangs it above her bed with ceremony, declares it her most prized possession after Worry Eater himself. 6 weeks of building something that feels sustainable. A rhythm where Harper sees Isla twice a week, where they are honest about the relationship but do not force adult complications into an 8-year-old's world. Harper knows they are dating, accepts it with the pragmatism of children who care more about whether people are kind than whether relationships follow traditional scripts. Brielle finds out the way secrets always surface in the age of social media. A mutual acquaintance from Garrett's old consulting days posts a photo from a coffee shop, tags the location. Algorithms do their work. Someone recognizes Garrett and Isla sitting together. Close, intimate, obviously not just friends. Screenshot, share. 6 degrees of separation collapse into zero. Brielle calls at 9:15 on a Thursday night. Garrett sees her name on the screen and knows, just knows. He answers anyway. Her voice could freeze water. "We need to talk, tomorrow." Laurelhurst Park, noon. "Do not be late." She hangs up before he can respond. Garrett sits staring at his phone. Isla is at her apartment, but he texts her anyway. Brielle knows she wants to meet tomorrow. The response comes immediately. "I am coming with you." Garrett types back, "You do not have to. This will get ugly." Isla responds, "We do this together or not at all. That was the deal." The next morning arrives with weather that feels like cosmic commentary. Bright sun, clear skies. The kind of day Portland gets maybe 15 times a year. Garrett picks up Isla at 11:30. They drive to the park in silence. Harper is with them because it is his custody day, and finding childcare on 4 hours' notice is impossible. She chatters from the back seat about a boy at school who claimed dragons are not real, and she set him straight with facts. They arrive early, sit on a bench near the playground. Harper runs to the swings, pumps her legs with determination. Isla watches her and says, "Whatever happens, we protect her. That comes first. Always." Garrett agrees. Brielle appears at noon. Exactly. She is wearing black jeans and a leather jacket, sunglasses despite being under trees. Her heels click against the path with rhythmic precision. She looks like someone who has been preparing for this confrontation. Rehearsing lines, building arguments. She stops in front of their bench, does not sit, stands with arms crossed looking down at them like a prosecutor before a jury. "Well," she says, her voice drips with something between fury and satisfaction. "Isn't this cozy? My ex-husband and my baby sister playing family at the park. How very Portland of you both." Garrett stands, tries to keep his voice level. "Brielle, we can explain." "Save it," she cuts him off with a hand gesture. "I do not need explanations. I need you both to understand exactly how messed up this is. My sister Garrett, you could have picked anyone. Literally anyone, but you chose the one person guaranteed to destroy what is left of this family." Isla rises slowly. The air between the three of them feels combustible. "Brielle, we can talk about this like adults." Brielle laughs. The sound is sharp enough to cut. "Adults, you want to lecture me about being adults. You knew this was wrong, both of you knew, and you did it anyway. You let him around my daughter, let her get attached, let her call you the dragon lady like you are part of her life." "How do you know about that?" Isla asks quietly. Brielle's smile is cold. "Harper talks. Children always talk. She told me all about the nice lady who teaches her to paint, the one who knows about dragons. I thought she meant an art teacher from school. Imagine my surprise when I found out it was my own sister." That is when Harper runs over. She has that sixth sense children develop in unstable households, the ability to detect adult conflict from 100 yards away. She stops between them, looking up at her mother with confusion. "Mom, why are you using your angry voice at the dragon lady?" Brielle's face does something complicated, multiple emotions fighting for dominance. She looks at her daughter, at Garrett, at Hila. For a moment, Garrett thinks she might actually hear how this sounds from a child's perspective. Instead, she kneels down, puts on a smile that does not reach her eyes. Harper, honey, sometimes grown-ups make very bad choices, and we have to protect you from those choices. Harper crosses her arms, mimics Brielle's earlier posture with eerie accuracy. If you were talking about Dad and the Dragon Lady dating, I already know, she makes him laugh. That is good, right? People should be happy. The simplicity of it hangs in the air. Adults complicate things. Children cut through to truth. Brielle's practiced arguments crash against an 8-year-old's logic. It is more complicated than that, Brielle starts. Harper interrupts. You always say things are more complicated, but they are not. Dad was sad. Now he is happy. The Dragon Lady is nice to me. She teaches me things. She does not yell. Why is that bad? Brielle stands abruptly. We are leaving. We are getting ice cream, and we are going to talk about appropriate relationships and family boundaries. But I want to stay with Dad, Harper protests. It is his day. Plans change, Brielle says firmly. Come on. Harper looks at Garrett. He nods even though everything in him wants to fight this. It is okay, sweetheart. Go with your mom. I will see you next week. But Harper is not done. She turns back to Brielle. Being mean to people who make people happy is wrong, Mom. Even if you are a grown-up. Even if you are family. Brielle takes Harper's hand, walks away without another word. Garrett and Isla watch them go. Neither speaks for a long time. Finally, Isla says what they are both thinking. It is going to get worse before it gets better. She is right. Over the next week, the fallout spreads like wildfire through the Whitmore family ecosystem. Brielle calls her parents call Isla. Long conversations that happen behind closed doors, but leak through in Isla's increasingly exhausted face. Her mother cries, asks how she could do this to her sister. Her father sends emails about loyalty and family values and disappointment. 3 generations of family expectations crashing down on the decision to date someone who was technically available but socially forbidden. Isla stops being invited to Sunday dinners. The family text chain goes quiet. Her cousin unfriends her on Facebook. Old friends reach out with concern that barely masks judgment. She gets a call from her aunt in Seattle, who somehow heard and felt compelled to share her thoughts on the sanctity of family bonds. Through all of it, Isla holds steady. Garrett offers multiple times to step back, to make this easier for her. Each time she looks at him like he has suggested something insane. I am not walking away, she says. I spent 32 years being the person who walks away to keep peace. I am done. If they cannot handle me choosing honesty over their comfort, that says more about them than me. She handles the family pressure with a grace Garrett does not possess. She does not fight fire with fire, does not match their anger, simply repeats the same truth in different forms. Garrett and Brielle were divorced for 3 years before we matched. I was complicit in protecting a lie that hurt him. I am choosing to do things differently now. If that makes me the villain in your version of the story, I can accept that. The Monday morning after the park confrontation, Garrett arrives at the warehouse to chaos. The main inventory system is down. The screen shows nothing but error messages cascading across multiple terminals. His manager is on the phone with ET, who says it will take at least 6 hours to diagnose and possibly days to fix. 40,000 orders are backed up. Holiday season means this kind of delay could cost the company hundreds of thousands of dollars. His manager is sweating. The IT person on speakerphone sounds defensive and overwhelmed. Garrett looks at the screen, sees the problem in 30 seconds. It is a routing loop, simple if you know what you are looking for. He fixed this exact issue at his consulting firm 5 years ago. He should not. It is not his job. Drawing attention is dangerous. Reminding people you are overqualified for your position is how you end up without a position. But Harper's voice echoes in his head. Dad, why do you work in a warehouse if you are so smart? And Isla's, you are not pretending. You are working. There is dignity in that. He takes a breath. I think I can fix it, he says. His manager looks at him like he just offered to perform surgery with a spoon. No offense, Brennan, but this is a server issue. We need actual IT. I used to do systems consulting. MIT degree, before I came here. The manager's expression shifts. Surprise, suspicion, calculation. How long? 15 minutes. Maybe 20. The manager looks at the phone, at the screen, at Garrett. Do it. Garrett sits down. His fingers remember. The muscle memory of a life he used to live. He navigates through code that most people in this building could not read. Finds the loop, redirects the routing, reboots the subsystem. The screen goes dark, then comes back. Green, online. Orders start flowing. The backup clears in waves. The warehouse around him erupts in relieved chaos. Diana from logistics finds him during lunch. She is mid-40s. Sharp has been watching him with interest for months. You just saved us $50,000 in delayed shipments, she says. Minimum. Probably more. Garrett shrugs. It was not that complicated. She sits down across from him, lowers her voice. MIT. He does not answer. Does not need to. You are wasted here, she says quietly. Why warehouse work? The divorce. Harper. Custody. It was easier to take a job that did not require relocation or travel or explaining gaps in my resume. Diana nods, considers this. If you ever want to do more than survive, let me know. I have connections. She walks away. Leaves Garrett sitting there with his sandwich and the strange feeling of being seen. That night, he tells Isla about the fix, about Diana. About feeling like he is slowly clawing his way back to a version of himself he thought was dead. You are not hiding, Isla says. You are surviving. There is a difference. When you are ready to do more than serve it, you will know. The shift begins in an unexpected place. Harper spends a weekend at her grandparents' house. Standard custody arrangement. Garrett drops her off Friday evening and picks her up Sunday afternoon. When he arrives to collect her, Brielle's mother pulls him aside. Harper gave us quite the speech at dinner last night, she says. Her expression is complicated. Not warm, but not hostile. Garrett's stomach drops. What kind of speech? Mrs. Whitmore almost smiles. Apparently, we are all being very silly. Those were her exact words. She stood up in her chair and announced that being mean to people who make people happy is wrong. Even if you are old, even if you are family. Then she said, the Dragon Lady is nice and Dad smiles now. And if we cannot see that, then we need better eyes. Garrett does not know what to say. I am sorry if she was disrespectful. Mrs. Whitmore shakes her head. She was not disrespectful. She was honest. Children often are. It made me think about what we have been doing, how we have been treating Isla. You, all of it. I am not saying I approve, but I am saying Harper might have a point. It is not forgiveness, not acceptance, but it is a crack in the wall of opposition. According to Brielle's brother, who texts Isla later with updates, the grandparents have been quieter about their objections, less vocal in their support of Brielle's campaign. Brielle herself does not apologize, but the temperature drops from boiling to merely simmering. She stops trying to reduce Garrett's custody time, stops making pointed comments during exchanges. They settle into a cold professionalism that is better than active warfare, but the cost is visible on both of them. Garrett sees it in the way Isla checks her phone compulsively, waiting for messages from family that do not come, in the way she talks less about Thanksgiving plans because she does not know if she is invited. He sees it in Harper's careful questions about why Grandma and Grandpa do not want to see the Dragon Lady, in the way she draws pictures of blue dragons eating worries and tapes them to his refrigerator like protective charms. One night, Harper is finally asleep and Garrett sits with Isla on his balcony. Are we going to lose her? Isla asks quietly. He does not have an answer. Instead, he takes her hand. I don't know what happens next, but whatever it is, we face it together. The three dots appear on his phone, then disappear, then appear again. Her response comes as a whisper. Together. Always. Rain begins to fall. Inside, Harper sleeps with Worry Eater clutched tight. And somewhere in the Portland night, the future waits, uncertain and impossible to predict. The invitation arrives via text on a Tuesday morning in mid-November. From Mrs. Whitmore, 6 weeks after the park confrontation. Thanksgiving dinner, 4 o'clock. Your family is welcome. Garrett stares at the message for 5 minutes before showing it to Isla. They are sitting in his car outside Harper's school waiting for pickup. Rain drums on the roof. The heater struggles against November cold. Isla reads the text 3 times. Your family is welcome, she says quietly. Not just you and Harper. Your family. She is including me. It is not forgiveness, Garrett says, but it is something. Isla nods, takes his hand. Her fingers are cold. Do we go? He thinks about this, about walking into the Whitmore house for the first time in 3 years, about sitting at their table with Isla beside him instead of Brielle, about Harper navigating the complexity of a family trying to rebuild itself from rubble. Yes, he says, we go. Together. Thanksgiving Day arrives with typical Portland weather, rain mixed with the threat of worse rain. Garrett picks up Harper from Brielle's apartment at 3:30. She is wearing a purple dress she insisted on for the occasion. Her hair is in two braids that Brielle clearly spent time perfecting. Is the dragon lady coming to Grandma's house? Harper asks as soon as she climbs into the car. Yes, Garrett says. Is that okay? Harper considers this with her usual gravity. Will there be tension? Garrett almost laughs. The question sounds like something from a therapy session, not an 8-year-old. Probably some he admits. But we will handle it, like we always do. Harper nods satisfied. Good, because I want turkey. And tension makes people forget to pass the turkey. They pick up Isla at her apartment. She is wearing a green sweater and looks nervous in a way Garrett has rarely seen. She clutches a bottle of wine like it might protect her from whatever awaits. The Whitmore house sits in West Lynn, a suburb that pretends not to be a suburb. Large houses with careful landscaping. 2-car garages, the kind of neighborhood where people care deeply about property values and homeowner association rules. Mrs. Whitmore opens the door before they can knock. She looks older than Garrett remembers. Tired, but her smile is genuine when she sees Harper. There is my girl, she says, pulling Harper into a hug. Then she looks at Isla. Something passes between them. Years of unspoken things, disappointments and expectations, and the weight of being a daughter in a family that values appearance over truth. Isla, Mrs. Whitmore says, I am glad you came. She hugs her daughter. It is brief, awkward, but it happens. Then she turns to Garrett, extends her hand. Garrett, thank you for coming, for giving us another chance. He shakes her hand. Notices Mr. Whitmore standing in the hallway behind her, watching with the careful neutrality of someone who has been instructed to behave. The house smells like turkey and stuffing, and the particular kind of anxiety that comes with family gatherings where everyone is trying too hard. Brielle is in the kitchen with her brother. She looks up when they enter. Her expression is complicated. Not welcoming, but not hostile, just exhausted. Harper runs to her immediately, shows her the blue dragon pin Isla gave her that morning. Explains in detail about how blue dragons eat worries, and maybe mommy needs one too, because she has a lot of worries. Brielle's face does something that might be the beginning of a smile. Maybe I do, sweetheart. Dinner is awkward but survivable. They sit at the dining room table that Garrett remembers from years of holiday meals when he was still married. When he was still trying to become someone the Whitmore family might approve of. Mrs. Whitmore has seated Garrett and Isla at the opposite end from Brielle. Maximum distance, minimum potential for conflict. Harper sits between her parents completely unaware of or unconcerned by the careful choreography of adult tension. The food is excellent. Mrs. Whitmore is a good cook, always has been. She takes pride in this, in the tradition of family meals and recipes passed down and the ritual of gathering around a table. Conversation is strained at first. People ask polite questions, make observations about the weather, discuss neutral topics like sports and traffic and whether it will snow this year. But then Harper, who has been quiet for approximately 7 minutes, decides to make a speech. She stands up in her chair. Garrett reaches to stop her, but Isla puts a hand on his arm. Let her, Isla whispers. Harper looks around the table at her family, at the adults who have spent weeks making her life complicated with their inability to simply be happy for each other. Grandpa, she says, you are being rude to my dad. That is not okay. Grandma, you too. And Aunt Melissa, and basically everyone. The table goes silent. Every adult frozen with fork halfway to mouth. The dragon lady makes my dad happy. My dad makes her happy. That is what grown-ups are supposed to do. Make each other happy. If you cannot be nice, then maybe we should go home, because I do not want to be around people who are mean to people I love. The silence that follows is absolute. Then Brielle does something unexpected. She sets down her fork, stands up, walks around the table to stand near Harper. Harper is right, she says. Her voice carries despite being quiet. We have all been rude. I have been rude. Isla is my sister. Garrett is Harper's father. They are together and they make each other happy and Harper happy. That should be enough. I think we all owe everyone an apology. Mr. Whitmore clears his throat, offers Garrett a glass of wine, actually offers it, makes eye contact. Mrs. Whitmore asks Isla about her painting with what might be genuine interest instead of polite obligation. Brielle's brother apologizes quietly across the table. Means it. The rest of the afternoon is not comfortable, but it is no longer hostile. They eat pie. They watch football. Harper plays with her cousins in the backyard despite the rain. The adults manage conversations that do not contain barbs. It is normal, mostly normal, normal enough. When they leave, Mrs. Whitmore hugs Isla for longer this time, whispers something in her ear that makes Isla's eyes bright. In the car, Harper falls asleep within minutes, exhausted from the emotional labor of being the wisest person in the room. Isla takes Garrett's hand. "That was my daughter," he says quietly, making grown-ups behave since 2018. Isla laughs. "She is terrifying. I want to be her when I grow up." December arrives with its own complications. The warehouse gets busier. Holiday season means longer hours, more inventory, more problems for Garrett to quietly fix without taking credit. He comes home exhausted every night, barely has energy to make dinner, falls asleep on the couch while Harper tells him about her day. Isla helps when she can, brings dinner, helps Harper with homework, reads to her before bed when Garrett is too tired to keep his eyes open. They have been together 4 months now. It feels longer. It feels like they have been doing this for years. One evening in mid-December, Garrett sits on his balcony after Harper is asleep. Isla is beside him. They watch Portland prepare for another night of rain. "I have been thinking about proposing," he says. Does not plan to say it, but it comes out anyway. "But I do not want to rush you. Do not want you to feel pressured." Isla turns to look at him. Her face is serious in the glow of the city lights. "Garrett, I moved in half my life with you. I defended our relationship to my entire family. I co-parent your daughter. I am not feeling rushed. I am feeling like you are overthinking. So if I asked, I would say yes," she interrupts. "But only if you actually ask instead of hypothetically discussing asking." He laughs. "Not yet. When I ask, it needs to be right, intentional, not a conversation on a balcony." "Fair enough," she agrees. "But do not take too long. I am not a patient person." The universe makes the decision for him 2 weeks later. Garrett is at work when his landlord calls. The building has been sold. New owners want to renovate. Everyone has 60 days to find new housing. 60 days, right after Christmas, in the middle of Portland's worst rental market in a decade. He sits in his car during lunch break staring at the email that confirms the phone call. Does math that does not work no matter how many times he runs the numbers. First month, last month, security deposit, moving costs. He does not have it. Will not have it in 60 days. His phone rings. Isla. "Hey," he says, trying to keep his voice steady. "What is wrong?" She knows him too well. He tells her about the building, about the 60 days, about the math that does not work. Isla is quiet for a moment. He can hear her breathing. Then she says without hesitation, "Move in with me." "Isla, I mean it. My apartment has 2 bedrooms. We can set up Harper's room for when she stays over. The basement storage can be your workspace. It is not perfect, but it is ours." Garrett's throat is tight. "This is too much. I cannot." "You can, and you will, because this is what people do when they love each other. They help, they make space, they choose each other even when it is hard." He closes his eyes, feels something in his chest unclenching. "Yes," he says. "Yes, I want that." The move happens over a rainy weekend in January. Friends help carry boxes up 3 flights of stairs to Isla's apartment. The same friends who supported him through the divorce, who believed him when everyone else believed Brielle's story. Harper supervises with a clipboard she made from construction paper. She has a list of every item and checks them off with a marker. Takes her role as logistics coordinator very seriously. Brielle shows up around noon with pizza. This surprises everyone, including herself apparently. She hands the boxes to Garrett and says, "Harper asked me to help." "I am helping. It is not a blessing, not approval, but it is presence. It is effort." Isla thanks her. Brielle nods. They do not hug. They do not have a healing conversation. But they exist in the same space without combustion, and that feels like progress. By evening, the apartment is chaos. Boxes everywhere, furniture in wrong rooms. Nobody can find anything. Harper declares it perfect, says it looks like an adventure, curls up on the couch with Worry Eater, and falls asleep before dinner. That night, Garrett and Isla lie in their shared bed for the first time. Rain drums on the warehouse windows. The city glows beyond. Harper sleeps down the hall in a room painted blue because she insisted dragons prefer blue. "I never thought I would get this," Isla whispers. "A second chance at being brave." Garrett pulls her closer. "I never thought my thumb slipping would lead to the best decision I ever made." They fall asleep tangled together, in a home they built from honesty and courage, in a life that requires choosing each other every single day. Spring comes slowly to Portland. By June, they have settled into rhythms that feel permanent. Garrett's commute is longer, but the apartment is bigger. Harper has her own space. Isla's studio is organized in a way that makes her happy. Small things happen that feel significant. Diana from the warehouse reaches out, has a client who needs help with inventory systems. Would Garrett be interested in consulting work? Nothing huge but legitimate. A reminder that he has skills beyond warehouse management. Garrett takes the job, works evenings and weekends. The extra money helps. But more than that, it reminds him that he is not just surviving. He is building. Harper's birthday party in June is small but perfect. Her friends from school, her cousins, her grandparents who show up and behave, and even compliment Isla's painting of dragons eating worries. Brielle comes, brings a gift, stays for cake, does not leave early. Progress is not linear, but it is happening. One evening, 2 weeks after Harper's birthday, Garrett makes a decision. He calls Isla from work, asks her to meet him at the cafe in Alberta Arts, the one where she told him the truth about his marriage, where they started building something honest. She arrives at 2, sees him at their corner table and knows immediately. Garrett Brennan, she says, sitting down, are you about to do what I think you are about to do? He smiles, nervous. More nervous than he has been in years. The barista brings their usual orders without asking. Remembers them. This feels like a good sign. Garrett tells her a story about a man who thought he was broken, who carried the weight of failure like a stone, who learned to apologize for existing. And then one night he says his thumb moved across the screen, and everything changed. He takes both her hands across the table. I spent a long time calling it an accident. It was easier that way. Less scary. If it was an accident, I did not have to take responsibility for wanting something, for choosing something everyone said was wrong. Isla's eyes are bright. But it was not an accident, Garrett continues. Maybe my thumb slipped. Maybe I was half asleep. But some part of me saw your profile and chose you. Some part of me knew, and I am done letting the word accident carry all the weight of my courage. He pulls out a ring, thin gold band, small blue stone that catches light like water, like sky, like hope. Isla Whitmore. A year and a half ago, my thumb was braver than the rest of me. It is time I caught up. Will you marry me not by accident, not by fate, but because I choose you on purpose? Every single day for the rest of my life. Isla cries, laughs, does both simultaneously. Yes, she says. Yes, you ridiculous man, yes. The ring fits perfectly. He stole one of her other rings weeks ago to get the size right. The barista with the nose ring applauds. Other customers join in. Someone buys them champagne, even though it is 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday. It is a small moment and an enormous one. That night, they tell Harper. She is eating dinner. Chicken nuggets shaped like dinosaurs because regular shapes are boring. They sit down on either side of her. We have news, Isla starts. Harper looks up, suspicious. Her news detector is highly calibrated. Good news or grown-up news that you are pretending is good. Good news, Garrett says. Isla and I are getting married. Harper considers this, selects her dinosaur nugget thoughtfully. Will there be cake? Yes, Isla confirms. There will be cake. Can I wear purple? You can wear whatever color you want. Then it is good news, Harper declares. When is the wedding? By late summer, Garrett says. August, maybe. Harper nods with satisfaction. That gives me time to practice my flower girl walk. I have been watching videos. There is a technique. Of course there is, Isla says. Of course you have been preparing. They plan a small wedding, 40 people maximum. A garden on Sauvie Island that rents for weekend events. Late August, when the weather is most likely to cooperate. Mason jars with wildflowers, string lights. A ceremony they write themselves about choosing love even when it is complicated. The guest list is delicate. Isla's parents, Brielle, the Whitmore extended family. Garrett's few remaining friends, Isla's teaching colleagues, Harper's grandparents from Garrett's side who he barely speaks to, but who deserve to know their granddaughter will be at a wedding. Brielle surprises them by offering to help. She knows a caterer, can recommend a photographer since Garrett obviously cannot shoot his own wedding, offers to take Harper dress shopping because 8-year-olds have opinions and someone needs to manage them. The planning happens through summer, small decisions that add up to something larger. They taste cakes, sample flowers, argue about whether to do a first dance or skip it entirely. Harper insists on both a flower girl and a ring bearer role and recruits her cousin to help. She takes her responsibilities with the gravity of someone planning a state dinner. Through it all, the family dynamics continue to shift and settle. Not perfect, not healed, but functional. The Saturday before the wedding, Brielle requests a meeting. Not an ambush, not a confrontation, a real conversation. She sends an email with the subject line, "Can we talk?" The message is brief, surprisingly neutral. I would like to discuss our co-parenting arrangement and some things I need to say. My place. Saturday at 2, if that works. I will have coffee. Garrett reads it 3 times, shows it to Isla. This feels different, Isla says, less angry, more tired. They take the Max train to the Pearl District. Harper is at a birthday party. 6 hours of trampolines and chaos that requires liability waivers. Brielle's apartment has not changed. Clean lines, neutral colors, art purchased to match furniture rather than because someone loved it. She opens the door before they can knock. She is wearing jeans and a sweater, no makeup, hair in a ponytail. Garrett has seen her dressed down maybe 5 times in the entire span of knowing her. It is disarming. Come in, she says. I made coffee. Real coffee, not the instant stuff. They sit at her dining table, sleek wood that probably cost more than Garrett's car. Brielle pours coffee from a machine that makes Italian espresso sounds, hands them cups on saucers that match, sets out cream and sugar in matching containers. Then she sits, folds her hands on the table, takes a breath that suggests she has been practicing this. I have been thinking, she starts, about what Harper said, about happiness, about seeing Garrett smile, and I realized something that has been bothering me for months. She looks at Garrett directly. I do not remember the last time I saw you actually happy when we were married. The admission lands heavy. I was not happy either, she continues. I think we both knew it. But we stayed because I was raised to believe marriage was about commitment, not happiness. My parents have been together 43 years, and I do not think they have enjoyed a single one. But they stayed. That was the model. She pauses, looks at her coffee. So I stayed, and I resented you for staying too, for not being the one brave enough to leave first. Garrett's throat is tight. The affair. Brielle looks away, stares at her coffee like it contains answers. Tucker Vaughn. It was not about love. It was about feeling wanted, feeling seen. You stopped seeing me, Garrett. Somewhere in year 2 or 3, you just stopped. And instead of talking about it, instead of fighting for us, I found someone who would look at me like I mattered. The honesty is brutal, but it is honest. I stopped looking because you made it clear I was never enough, Garrett says, keeps his voice level. Every conversation became a referendum on my failures. Every attempt at connection got met with criticism. So yes, I stopped trying, because trying meant failing and I was exhausted from failing. They sit with this truth. The air between them is not warm, but it is not hostile either. Just 2 people finally saying things that should have been said years ago. I am not asking you to forgive me, Brielle says. I do not know if I deserve that, but I am asking you to understand that I never meant to destroy you. I was trying to survive something that was killing me slowly, and I did not have the tools to do it any other way. Garrett nods. I was not a good husband. I was so caught up in my own failure that I stopped being a partner. I am sorry for that. Brielle looks surprised, like she expected a fight and got understanding instead. Thank you. Then she turns to Isla. I owe you an apology too. I put you in an impossible position during my marriage, made you complicit in my choices, then blamed you for having the courage to make a different choice. You chose honesty over comfort. I have never been able to do that. Still not sure I can, but I recognize it takes strength I do not have. Isla's eyes are bright. We all did what we thought we had to do. I am not interested in keeping score. I just want to move forward in a way that is healthy for Harper. Brielle nods, agrees. They talk logistics, the boring necessary details of co-parenting, schedules, holidays, school events where they will both be present. They establish boundaries, agree that Harper should not be put in the middle of adult conflicts. Before they leave, Brielle says one more thing. Harper deserves happiness, and she is happy now. I can see it. That matters more than my pride. August 23rd arrives with weather that feels like a gift. Clear skies, temperature in the mid-70s. The kind of Pacific Northwest day that makes you forget the 9 months of gray. Sauvie Island sits 20 minutes outside Portland proper. Farm country, you pick berry fields. The kind of rural quiet that feels impossible this close to the city. The garden they rented belongs to a couple who started growing dahlias as a retirement project and accidentally created something magical. Rows of flowers in every color. A small pond with actual ducks. An old barn converted into an event space with string lights already hung from the rafters. Garrett arrives at noon even though the ceremony is not until 5. Cannot help himself. Needs to see the space. Needs to make sure it is real. Harper arrives an hour later. Purple dress, sparkly light-up shoes she insisted on. She is wearing her blue dragon pin. Worry Eater is tucked into her small purse. She practices her flower girl walk 17 times. She has been counting. Has a system. Slow steps. Pause. Scatter petals. Repeat. The ceremony starts at 5 exactly. A string quartet plays something classical that Isla chose because she said it sounded like hope. The guests stand, turn toward the makeshift aisle lined with dahlias in shades of coral and pink and deep burgundy. Harper goes first. Walks with the solemnity of someone carrying nuclear codes. Scatters petals with precision, each handful distributed evenly. When she reaches the front, she turns and gives a thumbs up. Several people laugh. She seems pleased with herself. Then Isla, walking alone because she said she did not need someone to give her away. She belongs to herself, is choosing this freely. She walks down the aisle and Garrett forgets how to breathe. He has seen her every day for 18 months. But this is different. This is her choosing him in front of everyone. Choosing him despite the complications, despite the family drama, despite every reason this should not work. She reaches the front, takes his hands. Her eyes are bright, but not crying yet. He is already crying, cannot help it. The officiant is a friend of Isla's from art school who got ordained online specifically for this. She welcomes everyone, makes a joke about Portland rain that lands well, then turns serious. We are here, she says, because two people made a choice. Not an easy choice, not a convenient choice, but a brave one. They chose honesty over comfort. They chose each other over approval. They chose to build something real, even when the world gave them every reason not to. Garrett reads his vows from a piece of paper he has folded and unfolded so many times the creases are wearing through. Isla. 2 years ago, my thumb moved across the screen and changed my life. I spent a long time calling it an accident because accidents are safe. They do not require courage. But it was not an accident. Some part of me that was braver than my fear chose you before my conscious mind caught up. His voice catches. He steadies it. Today I am catching up. Today I am choosing you on purpose. I promise to tell you the truth even when it is hard. To show up for you and for Harper every single day. To build a life based on honesty instead of performance. To never hide behind the word accident when what I mean is choice. I choose you. Always. On purpose. Isla does not have paper. Speaks from memory or maybe just from her heart. Garrett, you taught me that it is never too late to be brave. That choosing happiness is not selfish. It is necessary. You saw me when my own family could not. You let me be complicated and uncertain and still loved me anyway. She takes a breath. I promise to choose you every single day, to build a home where Harper feels safe, where we tell the truth and eat too much pasta and let dragons eat our worries. I promise to be your partner in all of it, the beautiful parts and the hard parts and the boring parts that make up most of life. Her voice is steady, strong. I was done being a coward before I met you, but you taught me what courage actually looks like. Thank you for that. Thank you for choosing me back. The rings are simple gold bands. Harper carries them on a pillow she decorated herself with fabric paint and glitter. She hands them over with ceremony, whispers loudly, "Do not drop them. They are expensive." More laughter. They exchange rings. The metal is warm from being in Harper's possession. The officiant pronounces them married. Garrett kisses Isla and the guests applaud, and Harper shouts, "Finally, can we have cake now?" The reception happens in the barn as the sun starts its slow descent. Dinner is barbecue from a food truck they hired. Brisket and pulled pork and vegetarian options because Isla insisted. The cake is 3 tiers of lemon lavender that Harper tested 4 times during planning to make sure it met her standards. There are toasts. Garrett's best friend from college tells embarrassing stories. Isla's teaching friend talks about watching her become brave. Then Brielle stands up, unexpectedly, taps her glass. The barn goes quiet. "My sister," she starts. Her voice wavers, but holds. "My sister has always been the brave one. I just never recognized it until recently." She looks at Isla. She had the courage to tell the truth when the rest of us were hiding behind lies. The courage to choose happiness even when it disappointed people. The courage to love someone everyone said she should not love. Brielle's eyes are bright. "Isla, you taught me that family is not about protecting the story we want to tell. It is about protecting the people we love. Thank you for that lesson." She turns to Garrett. "Garrett, take care of her. And also thank you for being a better person than I gave you credit for." She sits down quickly, wipes her eyes. Isla crosses the barn, hugs her sister. They hold each other for a long moment. The barn stays respectfully silent. Something is healing here that needed healing. Mr. Whitmore stands next, clears his throat, looks uncomfortable but determined. I have not always understood my daughters. I was raised to believe family meant agreement, unity at all costs. But Harper taught me something at Easter. She said being mean to people who make people happy is wrong, even if you are old. He looks at Harper, who is eating cake and paying no attention. She was right. I was wrong. Isla Garrett. I am sorry for making this harder than it needed to be. I am working on being better, on choosing happiness for my family instead of my idea of what family should look like. More tears, more hugs. The Whitmore family is not fixed, but it is bending towards something better. As dinner winds down and guests move outside to watch the sunset, Garrett notices someone standing at the edge of the property. A man, mid-40s, well-dressed. Tucker Vaughn. Brielle sees him at the same moment. Her face goes pale, then hardens. She walks over. They exchange words no one can hear. Brief, final. Tucker nods, turns, leaves. Isla watches from across the barn, comes to stand beside Garrett. Is she okay? Garrett looks at Brielle. She is standing taller, lighter. Yeah, he says. I think she just closed that door for good. The dancing starts around 8. They do their first dance to a song about second chances. Slow, intimate, everyone watches. Halfway through, Harper runs onto the dance floor and inserts herself between them. They lift her up. Dance as 3. This is the family. This is what they chose. As the sun sets, the string lights come on. The garden glows golden. Guests migrate outside to see the last of daylight turn everything soft. Garrett and Isla slip away to the pond. Stand at the edge watching ducks settle for the night. No hiking on the honeymoon, Isla says. It has become their running joke. Just enough for photos? Garrett agrees. 2 photos maximum. Then pasta. Harper finds them there. Takes their hands. The ducks are going to sleep, she announces. We should probably get cake before it is all gone. The cousins are eating a lot. They walk back to the barn together. 3 people who became a family, not through biology or obligation, but through intentional choice. Through showing up. Through telling the truth. Through letting an 8-year-old be wiser than the adults around her. The party continues past dark. Someone makes a bonfire in the designated fire pit. Guests gather around with drinks and stories. Around 10, Harper falls asleep on a blanket near the fire. Purple dress dirty from dancing. Flower basket abandoned. Blue dragon pins still attached to her collar. Garrett carries her to the car. Buckles her in carefully. She stirs. Mumbles something about dragons and cake and whether heaven has sprinklers because the one at the venue was very cool. They drive back to Portland with Harper sleeping in the back seat and their whole lives ahead of them. The city appears in the distance. Lights and bridges and the river reflecting everything back doubled. Home. They are home now. All 3 of them. At the apartment, Garrett carries Harper to her room, tucks her in without changing her clothes because waking her seems cruel. Isla removes the blue dragon pin, sets it on the nightstand where Harper will find it tomorrow and remember. They collapse on their beds still wearing wedding clothes. Too tired to change. Too happy to care. Isla curls into Garrett's side. He wraps his arms around her. They fit together like they were designed for this. I never thought I would get this. Isla whispers into the dark. A second chance at being brave. Garrett kisses the top of her head. I never thought my thumb slipping would lead to the best decision I ever made. It was not your thumb, Isla says. It was you. Choosing something you wanted. Finally letting yourself want something. They fall asleep tangled together in the apartment they share. In the life they built from honesty and courage and the willingness to choose each other over and over. It is not easy. It never will be. The Whitmore family will have bad days. Brielle will struggle with complicated feelings. Harper will navigate divided loyalties. There will be arguments and setbacks and moments when the whole thing feels too hard. But they chose this. They keep choosing this. That is the difference between an accident and a decision, between falling into something and building it with intention. In her room, Harper sleeps with Worry Eater tucked under one arm and dreams of blue dragons eating all the worries in the world. In the morning, she will wake up and demand pancakes and want to hear every detail of the reception she fell asleep during. She will wear her flower girl dress for 3 more days until Isla gently suggests maybe pajamas are more comfortable. She will tell everyone at school that her dad married the dragon lady and they are a family now. And families are made by choice, not accidents. She will be right. She is usually right. Outside their window, Portland settles into its familiar nighttime rhythm. Sirens, music from distant bars, the hum of a city that contains multitudes. Rain starts to fall, gentle, persistent, exactly right. Garrett and Isla sleep through it. Tomorrow they will wake up married, will make coffee and burn toast, and argue about whether the honeymoon should include any hiking at all. We'll call family members and thank them for coming. We'll start the ordinary work of being married, which is mostly just showing up and telling the truth and choosing each other when it would be easier not to. But tonight they sleep in a home they built together, in a life that started with a swipe that was never really an accident, in the certainty that comes from choosing love on purpose. The Blue Dragons, wherever they live, are very pleased with this outcome. They have eaten all the worries. There is only room now for what comes next.